Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Vishnu. I'm going to bring you some of the big stories which we are tracking on NDTV's YouTube channel. As you can see over here, we've actually got the stories which are doing quite well. Pick the story you want to follow today on NDTV 24/7. This is the YouTube NDTV Community. So you need to go to youtube.com/NDTV and then you get the opportunity of clicking on Community. And these are the big stories which people are generally looking at. So do vote in, and this actually gives us an idea of what our readers and our viewers actually want to see. So the choices today: the Guwahati Army Flag March after violence, and we'll be talking about that in a few moments from now. The entire issue of the Citizenship Amendment Bill having come up yesterday in Parliament, having been cleared in the Rajya Sabha in a late night vote, is also something which have got a lot of people wondering about who were some of the parties, particularly some of the smaller parties, which actually voted in favor of the Citizenship Amendment Bill. Remember, there are two sides to this. The government believes that the Citizenship Amendment Bill is not directed against any particular community. There will be no ring fence around the Muslim community. On the other hand, there are those who believe that citizenship cannot be defined on the basis of your religion, and that the very nature of India itself gets changed as a result of the Citizenship Amendment Bill going through. It will soon become a law. The review petitions in the Ayodhya case come up in the Supreme Court as well. By and large, the Ayodhya verdict has been accepted by members by different bodies representing the Muslim community, but not all. Some of them have decided to go to the Supreme Court to seek a review of this very important verdict. This has been, unfortunately, an eternal topic now for the last couple of weeks. The spike in onion prices since March, a 400% spike in the prices of onion. It's something which affects millions across the country. The basic issue of one's diet and the expenses that one incurs in actually eating the way that one wants to. Unfortunately, the air quality has hit severe once again in Delhi, Haryana and Bihar. It's been like this now for more than 24 hours, so the air quality levels are once again bordering on severe, and that's not good news at all for large parts of North India. But also, it's not just Delhi which we keep speaking about and which we keep mentioning, it's also Haryana and Bihar. But let's turn our attention a little bit to the situation in Assam. Now, the situation in Assam continues to be extremely tense. There has been violence in Guwahati. The army is out in parts of the state. They've been requisitioned by the district magistrates, several district magistrates by the civil government in the state. So 5 columns of the army are out in the state. Yesterday we saw violence outside the secretariat and other parts of the state as well. We saw buses being burnt. We saw violent agitation, and that continues today. Overnight there were protests as well. Thousands were out on protest yesterday with the Citizenship Amendment Bill being cleared in the Rajya Sabha. So in terms of the deployment of the army, 5 columns have been ordered out in Assam. That's 5 columns of 70 soldiers each. Each column has at least one officer commanding this particular unit. Flag marches, we are told, have been carried out in certain places. The army officially doesn't want to get into too much detail about exactly where in Assam these flag marches have been carried out, but we can tell you that the situation in Guwahati, that's the largest city in Assam, remains quite tense. Internet has been cut off. Mobile internet services were suspended in 10 districts. There's an indefinite curfew, section 144. The homes of the Assam Chief Minister were targeted. Stones were thrown at the house of the Chief Minister in the Lakhinagar area as well. And in Tripura, the paramilitary force, the Assam Rifles, is something which was deployed. It's officered by the Indian Army. And while it comes under the Home Ministry, it's very much a part of the Indian Army in terms of its ethos, its way of operations. It's not quite a CRPF type of police force. It's substantially more than that. So this very formidable force was deployed for the last couple of days in Tripura, and they are doing a sterling job in maintaining the law and order situation. Also, as far as Tripura is concerned, important to note that there was a breakthrough in talks between the protesters and the chief minister, as a result of which they are back on the table, and that indefinite strike, which was called, has ended in the state of Tripura. Now, what has the Prime Minister been saying today? Well, today, in a speech, in fact, the Prime Minister, in a talk, I should say, the Prime Minister actually did say once again what Amit Shah, the Home Minister, said yesterday in Parliament, that this is not something which is meant to deny communities or deny members of the Muslim faith. This is actually an opportunity for refugees from Afghanistan, from Pakistan and Bangladesh, who as minorities in these countries have suffered a great deal, to have the opportunity of coming to India and be given the rights of an Indian citizen. And yesterday, the Prime Minister said, in fact, he's tweeted this today, I should correct myself. Narendra Modi tweeted this morning and said, no one can take away your rights. So this is something which the Prime Minister has said, which is very, very important. Obvious reference to members of the Muslim faith, saying that this is not something which targets the Muslim community either for vote bank politics or anything else, and that the rights of Hindu citizens or Muslim citizens in India remains foremost, along with obviously all other faiths. The situation in Assam is tense enough for flights to the state to have been cancelled. So Indigo has cancelled its flights, SpiceJet and Vistara and Go Air have cancelled their flights as well. Rail services are also potentially been hit. I do know that there's been a greater deployment on the railway lines of security forces. So in case you're traveling to Assam by plane or by train, it's important that you know the exact status of the services before you attempt to travel over there. Hopefully the situation will get better over a period of time. Another story we are tracking today, the Supreme Court, and this is a big story which has actually emerged today. The Supreme Court probe into the killing of Telangana rape murder accused by the police. Now, this was a stunning case. It was a horrific case. Firstly, there was the brutal gang rape and murder of a doctor, of a vet in Telangana. And then there was what a lot of people titled an encounter, whereby the killers were taken to a particular area and then they were shot dead by the police. But the police themselves say that the circumstances for their retaliation was because they were assaulted themselves by these attackers. But the Supreme Court now has ordered an independent inquiry into the killing of the four men who, as I mentioned, were accused of the rape and murder of the 26-year-old woman in Telangana. Now, who is going to be looking into this? The Supreme Court has appointed a former retired judge of the Supreme Court, V.S. Sitpurkar, and it will also include Justice Rekha Prakash, Sondur Baldota, a former Bombay High Court judge, and a former CBI Director, D.R. Karthikeyan. I think this is an issue which would actually provide some sort of clarity on the circumstances in which these four men who've been accused of this horrible crime were themselves killed. Was this in a sense vigilante justice? Was this in a sense the police taking the law into their own hands by gunning them down in an encounter death? Is this legitimizing encounter deaths in this country? Or were there circumstances which actually justified the police taking the action? We have heard the Chief Justice of India, we've read about him saying that the process of justice needs to be deliberate, is what he'd suggested, and it cannot be instantaneous, and there needs to be a process as well. So this did come up in the Supreme Court, and a couple of the important statements which were mentioned and by the court. We are not saying the police is guilty. We don't know. We will order a probe and you will cooperate, is what the court said. There are aspects of your version which needed an inquiry, so the version of Telangana. So those are that's another big story which we are tracking today. The Supreme Court ordering a probe into the killing of the Telangana rape murder accused by the police.